Welcome to Something to Talk About from Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center. Something to Talk About occurs Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here at the Senior Center on Zoom, and in our best days also in person. We hope that will happen again very soon. Sponsored by Fieldstone Memory Care of Bainbridge Island. Fieldstone offers innovative and compassionate care, and they are now accepting residents. To schedule a tour of their beautifully appointed apartments on Rolling Bay, call 360-271-2530 today. And today we're going to talk about getting around on the island and getting around off the island. And with us today, Katie Auger from Island Volunteer Caregivers and the Senior Community Center. We had hoped to have a kind of a bigger thing this week about transportation, but the Omicron virus got the best of us. So we're kind of just going to start with Katie talking today, and then maybe next month we can do some in-person activities with Kitsap Transit, and maybe even take a field trip with BI Ride.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Reed. We're just hitting pause on the big transportation event, but we are absolutely going to get back to that. So everybody who was looking forward to that this week, be on the lookout, be on standby, because we're absolutely going to do that, and we're looking forward to it. So thank you, Reed. Yes, again, my name is Katie Auger. I am the Community Resource Navigator with both Island Volunteer Caregivers and the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center. So we're going to talk Kitsap Transit at some point, but today I am going to share a little bit with you about Island Volunteer Caregivers and what services we provide in terms of transportation. So some of you folks, I see some familiar faces on today, but also some new folks. So I'm just going to give a little background as to what IVC is, who we are, what we do. Island Volunteer Caregivers, commonly referred to as IVC, is a nonprofit on Bainbridge Island. And what we really do and what we aim for is to connect older adults and people with disabilities to caring community members, really with the mission of enabling their independence, their dignity, and their health and well-being. And in ways that we do that are having this amazing team of volunteers that will provide transportation support to individuals. They'll also provide some in-home support. We'll talk a little bit about that today, but I'm going to focus a bit more on transportation. But some of the ways that that shows up is that we do have volunteers that will come and do some in-home visits with folks. We do some respite care, so people who have a loved one that is maybe just needing somebody to sit and be with them while their partner, spouse, family member goes out and does some errands or just takes a little alone time. We have volunteers that will come in and do that. We also can provide some light housekeeping. So we're not a full-blown cleaning service by any means, but we do have volunteers that can, help and maybe mop the floors every once in a while or do a load of laundry if that's helpful. But as far as transportation goes, what this looks like. So right now, we are pulling back just a little bit on what sort of rides we're providing. When we are not in a pandemic, we can pretty much give folks rides to all sorts of activities in the community. So people who are wanting to get down to the Senior Community Center, we have volunteers that will take you there. We have volunteers that will drive you to different parks on the island, maybe, go for a nice walk, head over to BIMA, the art museum, all sorts of fun social events. Again, those are put on pause right now, just while we try to, wait to make sure things are safe. So one of the things we're really focusing on is our medical transportation. So we have volunteers that will help get folks to doctor's appointments, different medical appointments, physical therapy appointments, both on and off the island. So that's a question that we get a lot is, can our volunteers take people off island? The answer is yes. It can be a little trickier just because it depends on our volunteers and their availability. Our volunteer pool starts to shrink just a little bit when we start to look at off-island appointments, but it's not impossible. So I always encourage folks to at least reach out and give it a try. So I have plenty more to ramble on about, but at this point, does anybody have any questions or anything that you want to discuss? And you're welcome to go ahead and chime in, or you can raise your hand. We'll be on the lookout for you. Reed, yes.
So I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about what, in normal times, if you will, what kinds of things are appropriate to ask for help with, and what kinds of capabilities does the person who's seeking the ride need to have? What are obstacles to where you wouldn't be able to help them out?
Yeah, thank you, Reed. That's a great question. So one of the main things that we are looking for, and when we come out to do the assessment, and I'll talk a little bit about what that looks like in terms of getting signed up for IVC, because our volunteers are not trained caregivers, they're not trained to do any sort of personal care or assistance. The main thing that we're looking for is that the individual is able to get in and out of a vehicle or get to their vehicle independently or with minor assistance. So this isn't to say, you know, we have folks who will use wheelchairs, they will use a walker, and that's absolutely fine. So if you're able to get, you know, from your front door to the vehicle using any of those sort of assisted devices, that's totally fine. And then once you're to the vehicle, that you're just able to get in and out of the vehicle, again, independently or with minimal assistance.
So you should be able to transfer yourself from your wheelchair to the seat, for example.
Yes, exactly. And then from there, the volunteers can absolutely, you know, help fold up walkers, wheelchairs, whatever assisted device you're using, and then put that in the vehicle. So you don't have to worry about that part of it, but it's mostly just the being able to get in and out of the vehicle independently.
And what kinds of things might I ask for help for? Obviously, a doctor's appointment, shopping, what other things?
Yeah, absolutely. So doctor's appointments, also, you know, grocery shopping. So if you either would like to go to the grocery store with a volunteer and do shopping, or if you're just needing grocery shopping. And that's been a big thing that we've been doing during the pandemic. So people, I mean, as many of us have felt, you know, especially before we were able to get our vaccines, you know, even going into grocery stores was a bit stressful. So one thing, we had volunteers who were willing to go in, do the grocery shopping for people, and then deliver the groceries to the home. So that's something that we are still doing. We're happy to do. Prescription pickup is another one. I know sometimes folks are able to get prescriptions delivered to their home, and that's great. But we also know there's plenty of folks out there that aren't able to do that. So we do have volunteers that can go pick up a prescription and then again drop it off at an individual's home. So those are most of the transportation requests that we're doing right now. Again, we're hoping we move back to getting to do some of the fun things as well. I will just point out, so, you know, I just shared a bit about what you know, the requirements are in terms of being able to get to the vehicle and independently in and out of the vehicle without any assistance or minimal assistance. But yeah, you know, the one thing that I do like to point out is that because we are a volunteer-based organization, you know, we do really want to make sure that we're helping folks that, you know, really are lacking, you know, transportation. So say, for example, if you're somebody who still drives, you know, but you just don't feel like driving yourself, you know, to an appointment, then it, you know, we'll maybe kind of look at that. If it's a matter of if you're feeling uncomfortable safety wise, then absolutely, we encourage folks to, you know, sign up with IVC and allow us to take you. But, you know, in the same breath, we're not necessarily just a taxi service, you know, but we really want to make sure that we're supporting people who are looking to remain independent and being able to get around the island, or would like that assistance in getting food or prescriptions delivered.
So in better times, could you get a ride to the senior center or to get your hair cut or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we love being able to take folks down to the senior community center. We know there's just great activities that are going on there. So that's absolutely something that we can do. Yeah, and then hair appointments, you know, other appointments that you maybe have on the island that aren't necessarily medical, but are still a part of, you know, your life and being able to remain independent. Absolutely. Those are things that we can certainly have volunteers take you to.
And one of the things we've noticed with medicine is that there's there are fewer doctors here than there used to be.
Yeah.
So that means there's more trips to Paulsbo or Seattle. Is that something IVC can help with?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do definitely have volunteers that will go off island. So if you happen to have a medical appointment that is in Seattle, if you have appointments that are in Paulsbo or Bremerton, Silverdale, we will absolutely put those requests out and work on getting you to those appointments. I do like to point out again that since we're a volunteer organization, we can't guarantee that we're going to get every ride picked up. So that's just something to consider. I will say we've been really fortunate, and our volunteers are superstars. You know, I think we get around 95% of our requests picked up. But it is something just to keep in mind that if you do have a Seattle appointment, it is just going to depend on volunteers and availability. So something to keep in mind, but we also try to give people a heads up if we feel like the request isn't getting picked up in case you need to reschedule.
Can you talk at all about volunteers if somebody's watching this and is interested in driving?
Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Reed. We are always looking for volunteers. We are always happy to have new volunteers. I think one of a great perk about being able to volunteer with IVC is, you know, we don't have any minimum hour requirement. We don't have any minimum trip requirement. So if you're somebody that, you know, maybe has a busy schedule, but would really love to be involved, would love to volunteer, you know, if you can pick up one request a month, that is fantastic. If you can pick up one request a week, that is fantastic. If you can pick up a request once every 3 months, it's all great. It is also appreciated. So it's really meant to be flexible. It's meant to be easy. It's meant to work with your schedule. You know, we do the driving requests, but I know that maybe not everybody is super thrilled to just drive. I will say that, you know, I think one of the biggest joys is that you get to connect with community members. So even though it's maybe a ride to Virginia Mason, really what it's about is making that connection with a really lovely community member, a neighbor, and just getting a little one-on-one time. You know, even though maybe it's only a 10 or 15-minute drive, it's still just a really wonderful way to connect with another human being and, you know, bring a little joy to each other's days. So yes, if you're at all considering, please reach out to IVC. You know, even if you're just wanting to learn a little bit more about what it is we do, there's no pressure. We won't twist your arm to become a volunteer, but if you're just curious about some of the opportunities that we have, I was also, sorry, meaning to say that, so if driving's not necessarily your thing, there's also other ways to be involved. Like I mentioned early on, you know, if you're interested in the companionship part, if you maybe are a very skilled, you know, house cleaner and maybe want to, you know, help a community member out with a little tidying up or organizing, all of those skills are welcomed and very much appreciated. You can reach out, you can give us a call. Our phone number is 206-842-4441. You can also look for us online, and I'll put up our website as well here so you can access that as well. So yes, please consider volunteering with IVC. Yes, Linda has a question.
I do have a question. So what is the criteria and the assessment, not for a volunteer, but somebody that needs services? What process do they go through?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Linda. So in order to get signed up at IVC as a care receiver is what we call our folks. So we have our volunteers, we have our care receivers. So to become a care receiver, excuse me, at IVC, all you'll need to do is just reach out, contact us at the number that I just shared, the 842-4441. Let us know that you're interested in becoming a care receiver. We'll do just a really brief screening over the phone, and then likely it'll be myself that will come out and meet one-on-one with the individual at their home. And it's really just a nice way for us to get to know each other a little bit better, get to, you know, understand more what the individual is looking for, also share a bit about IVC. Again, as far as the criteria goes, the big one is just mobility. So anybody who's looking for transportation, we're just, you know, just making sure that, you know, the individual is comfortable to get in and out of a vehicle independently. You know, I'm not going to, you know, make you go through these thorough tests and, you know, courses or anything, but it's really just to kind of make sure that, you know, the individual's comfort level and that we're all feeling comfortable about the individual being able to get in and out of a vehicle. Anytime we're looking at in-home support, so let's say an individual is hoping to have somebody, you know, help out with maybe some laundry or just coming and do some in-home visits. You know, what we're mostly looking for is that just the home environment is safe for us to be able to send a volunteer into. So just kind of looking at some, you know, general safety things within the home as well. As a community resource navigator, it's also a really great time and opportunity just for us to talk about other resources. You know, in some cases, what the individual is looking for is maybe a bit outside of what IVC can do. But I will take that time to also talk about what other resources might be available in the community. So even if we decide that IVC maybe isn't the best fit for this individual, I really want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to still get people connected to other resources. Yeah, absolutely. And then during that time as well, we do have an agreement form that we have folks sign. It's all pretty straightforward and simple, but it does just go over our policies and rules a little bit. One of the big things that we find is that, you know, sometimes people will wait to reach out. You know, maybe they have an upcoming appointment in Seattle. And because we use volunteers with transportation, it is really helpful for us to have a little bit of time in order to get those requests out. So just something to keep in mind if you are considering signing up for IVC, we do ask for at least 7 days notice for any requests. And also we just like to add in a little buffer time. So in order to be able to come and do the assessment, you know, depending on what my schedule is, or my colleague Robin will also do assessments as well, you know, usually giving us at least a week's notice so that we can schedule to do an assessment and then a week's notice to be able to put the requests out. That's really helpful, so that way we just have enough time. So just something to keep in mind if you are thinking of reaching out to IVC.
Now, I know that Kitsap Transit for Access Bus, which provides door-to-door service, also requires some registration. There are more restrictions on Access Bus, though. You don't at IVC have any particular restrictions about age or disability per se, do you?
Right, absolutely. So another great question. No, we don't have any age requirements. And really what we're looking for, again, is an individual who doesn't have access to transportation. And we are looking for folks, again, older adults, people with disabilities, where transportation is really a barrier to being able to get to important appointments. Yeah, that's a great question. I'm looking forward to when we can have Kitsap Transit come, because of course they can talk a bit more about their criteria and the process of getting signed up. But I'll just really quickly just to mention Access. So again, Access is a program through Kitsap Transit. It's actually, you'll find Access in pretty much all communities. They do require a sign up. So that's something to keep in mind, that if you're considering Access, you're going to want to make sure that you get signed up with them prior to needing transportation. They do require a 24-hour notice for any rides to use their services. And the other thing that they're going to be looking at also is they do door-to-door transportation, but it also comes down to your specific access. So sometimes it can be a little trickier since they're using buses to be able to get into a person's driveway. So that's one thing that they'll be looking at ahead of time too. So for some people, it works great. They can come right up to your door. They can offer a little more assistance, and then they'll take you directly to your appointment. But I know it's not always a great fit. So for somebody who maybe has a driveway that Access can't get down, it might require you to have to, go to the very end of your driveway or possibly even further, which again, I know is not always a doable thing for everybody. So, but we'll hear from Access at our next event. So like I said, keep an eye out for that. Any other questions that I can answer for folks?
Katie? Yes.
Yes, Sheila.
I just want to tell a story. It has to do with a friend of mine who recently passed away. She had she had developed a very close friendship with one of your IVC folks who did all of those things that you mentioned, Katie, of transporting and doing laundry and a little cleanup and all of that kind of stuff, and visiting, mostly visiting. And the thing that is so warming to me about this is that she was with my friend when she died, because there was nobody else there for her, no family. And she was there to be able to be with her. And she was there with her most of the day or the afternoon or whatever. I'm not absolutely sure, but no matter. She that is IVC, you know?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sheila, for sharing that story. And yeah, I'm so sorry for the loss of your friend. And I mean, I appreciate that so much because, you know, like I mentioned that, you know, it's like those little moments of connecting with another human being. And I think so often we see those relationships, those friendships, those connections really grow. And it's powerful. It's so powerful. You know, I think the value and the importance of allowing folks to remain living independently as they like, to be able to, you know, go to the places they want to go, to be able to do the things that they want to do, to be able to remain living in their homes is huge. It's so important. But in the same breath, it's, you know, look, I hope people look beyond those things too. I mean, again, the example that you just gave, it's those connections that are made. It's the friendships that are formed. And that's one of the most powerful things I think about what IVC does. And I'm so grateful, Sheila, that you gave us that example. That's just truly such a powerful one. Thank you.
Well, I think that the what started out as a transportation program, as you said, has grown in many ways into a real web of interconnectedness in this community. And I know a lot of people appreciate that about Island Volunteer Caregivers, and we're really happy to be able to partner with IVC as often as we do at the Senior Center. So thank you for describing this to us today.
Absolutely. I always love getting to come on and hear from folks and share about IVC and share what we do at the Senior Community Center. Yeah, absolutely. And again, I encourage folks, please don't be shy. Please feel free to reach out to us at any point. You know, even if maybe you yourself or a loved one are not quite at the point of signing up for IVC, but if you just want to make the connection, get to ask some questions, learn more about what we do and see if it might be a good fit for you, I am always so happy to do that. So please reach out at any point. Oh, and I will also add that since I am both with IVC and the Senior Center, if for any reason, if you lose track of the contact information or are just not quite thinking of the name of IVC, you can always just contact the Senior Community Center. You can ask for Katie or just start talking about the program, and I'm sure somebody will connect the dots and get you connected to myself or anybody at IVC. So it's all good.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you all. And we're doing a lot on Zoom this week. If you're interested in exercise, you can call the Senior Center. We're doing stretching on Tuesdays and Thursdays on Zoom. The sail classes are going on Zoom on Tuesday and Friday. Venera is going to have a wise folks conversation tomorrow afternoon on Zoom. So check out the email, which is on our website, biseniorcenter.org/newsletter, or just call us if you have a question about what's going on. We're doing our best to try to keep up on top of this. I was looking at the numbers this morning from the Kitsap Public Health Department, and the whole county is in the super infection zone. Bainbridge Island is no exception again. So we're just gonna take it easy and take our time and look at ways that we can stay connected even when it's harder to do it inside at the center. And if the weather's nice, we might do some things outside. You might come down and chat with us for Patonk if the sun comes out on Thursday. Okay, see you all later.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.